In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to brighten under your eyes with concealer. Hey everyone, this is Lisa. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lisa Monique Beauty, where we cover all things beauty and lifestyle for the over 50 woman. So I had a viewer this weekend ask me if I could do a video on brightening the under eyes. And since I actually just got back from vacation last week, I didn't really have some video in mind. And so I was like, oh, that's great. That's a great one that I can do for my next video. So that's what I'm doing. I do have a lot of videos already on concealers, and I talked about how to get your concealer to last all day. I've talked about my favorite concealers, but this one is specifically going to be how to brighten the under eye area and the concealers I use and why I use them. And I'll talk about 3 different ways to brighten underneath the eyes. Okay, so let's get started. I categorize my concealers into 3 types. I have my serum concealers, or my lightweight moisturizing concealers. Most of those have skincare ingredients, and they are very light, and I actually refer to those as my brightening concealers. Then I go into my medium coverage concealers. These feel a little bit more like foundation to me. They are creamier. They definitely have a lot more pigment than the lighter concealers, and they last all day. Definitely need to set them, but they are my favorite concealers. They are my multitasking, can use for everything concealers. And then I have my full coverage concealers, which are really highly pigmented, and so you don't need to use a lot to cover up things. They typically are a little bit drier, so they'll go on creamy and then they seem to dry down, and then you're just left with the pigment on the skin. So those have great coverage, and again, they do last all day, but you do have to prep your skin a little bit more, or at least I do, because I find them a little drier. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I do want to say, obviously, if you watch my videos, I really don't have a lot of dark discoloration underneath my eyes. So when I'm brightening my eyes, I am brightening, pretty even under eye area. So I have talked before about covering your dark circles and your bags. I'll just quickly mention again, if you have a lot of purple discoloration, if you have deep bags, you do want to start with a color corrector and a small brush. I think this is the MAC. I think it's a 232. I can't really read the number. Maybe it's 213. I don't know. I'll put it down here. But you want to take just a little bit of your color corrector and apply it. If you have bags, you want to apply it in the trough, in the darkest area, just to brighten up that dark area. If you have purple discoloration all the way, let's say to the inner third of your eye, you want to apply it to the inner third of the eye. You want to make sure if you get darker right here, which a lot of people do, you want to make sure you're color correcting up in this area also to brighten up the eyes. And then you want to make sure you are tapping and pressing the concealer into your skin or the color corrector and not rubbing it off, because if you rub back and forth, you tend to just shear it out, and we're trying to press and to cover as much as possible. So you want to use a pressing motion. Now, my favorite brightening concealer is the Kosas concealer, and this one has a lot of great skincare with it. I have it in 2 different shades. It is very, very lightweight, and it leaves your skin with this beautiful radiant finish, and I do love that finish. This is what I use if I'm not necessarily going to be putting makeup on at all, or if I'm just using a tinted moisturizer and I just want a little bit of evening and brightening underneath the eye. When I'm choosing a concealer, I look for ones for brightening. I look for ones that are 1 shade, sometimes 2 shades. Obviously, if you get 2 shades brighter, it's going to be more noticeable, but a lot of times I just need just that 1 shade brighter to kind of lift my face and make my eyes look a little more open without actually looking like I have brightened underneath my eyes. So when I'm applying a concealer just to brighten underneath my eyes, I typically will just put a small dot in the inner corner and then a dot out on the outer edge of my eye. The inner corner, I will blend the inner corner up around the eye too. Again, I feel like this bridge of the nose, that area where your nose and your eyes meet, tends to get really dark and can use a lot of brightening. And then at the outer edge of your eye, you can lift your eye with that concealer by blending the concealer up towards the tip of your eyebrow, and it just really brightens. I think sometimes as we age, our hood kind of hangs over a little bit more and it gives a little bit of a shadow in that outer corner. So just putting a touch of concealer back there helps brighten the eye also. Besides the Kosas, really love the ColourPop Pretty Fresh, the NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer, the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Concealer. Surprisingly, I don't like the foundation, but I do like their concealer. And the Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. And then I also have the number 7 Lift and Illuminate Serum Concealer. So these are all very lightweight concealers. If you're trying to keep that luminous look, you do not need to set it. If you do want to set your powder, I have a couple that I recommend. The first one is the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder for under eyes. I mean, this one has been around for a long time. It's very finely milled, but it does brighten the under eye. The Wayne Goss, the Weightless Powder, I think is beautiful under the eyes. And then the RCMA, the original No Color Powder, is also really good. This one absorbs more shine. So if you're taking it, you know, under your eyes and going maybe over your nose, this one will cut the shine better than the others. The Wayne Goss is so beautiful, but I don't feel like it cuts shine. So this one is good just to set without looking dry. Do I even have a drugstore one? I don't really have a drugstore one, but this giant RCMA container is $14. So that really is the drugstore prices. For setting under the eyes to brighten, I like using a translucent white setting powder. Okay, now next we'll go to my favorite way to wear concealer, which is a little more concealer, and I actually will brighten all the way down to my chin. I will brighten this whole mask of my face. I will do this if I'm not wearing any foundation. And I have several foundations that I love to use for this. And these are the medium coverage. I mean, a lot of them will say, they will call themselves full coverage foundations. You can build them up if you would like to. I think of them as more, I keep saying foundation. These are concealers, but I'm using them as almost a foundation to brighten that center of the face. My favorite right now is the Dior Forever Skin Corrector. I think it is beautiful. I also still love the Lancome Tint Idol. These are just such good color. They're such a good formulation for my skin. They're not too heavy. They provide really nice coverage. They set down really well when I lightly powder them, and they give me that finished look that I'm looking for. Other good ones, I haven't used this one in a while, but this was my longtime favorite for a couple years. It's the Born This Way multi-sculpting concealer. This is humongous. You get so much product in this. This is in sand. This one is also a really good one for kind of giving you that whole center face coverage. If you have a lot of rosacea around here, even if you're just trying to brighten up your eyes, but you feel like, I don't want to cover my whole face, and if I just put concealer here to brighten, then finish your whole face. Rose Ink also has a beautiful one. Rare Beauty has another really nice one. And I actually don't really have any drugstore concealers in this category. I feel like the drugstore goes from a ton of serum concealers to really full coverage concealers, which are a little bit more drying, which are in my next category. I have a lot of drugstore there. But in this one, where I feel like it's almost like a foundation, I put the Wet n Wild Incognita because I think it's one of the lighter full coverage foundation, or excuse me, lighter full coverage concealers. So this probably would be the closest to go into this kind of medium coverage. Provides really great brightening. Again, I just go all the way down. I'll apply these across the eyes. Definitely want to powder them down because they are creamy. Now, you can apply too much. And so on these creamier concealers, if you apply too much, they're going to move and they're going to settle in all your fine lines. So you want to apply just the light amount. You want to set it down carefully using just a little bit of powder till you see that it's not going to move anymore. You don't want to cake it on, otherwise you're going to look dry and cakey, but you're going to get beautiful coverage. You can also apply these just like I did with the lighter weight concealers. You can apply them just on the inner corner and just maybe to lift that outer corner. You can use these absolutely just in those areas also. I'm just showing you different ways and places that you can use them. These really are my favorite. And again, the key is when you're choosing your concealer, it's not how heavy you can put it on. If your concealer is not giving you enough coverage, get a concealer that provides more coverage. Don't just try and put more concealer, more of that sheer concealer on, because that's when things start moving around. Okay, so those are my medium coverage concealers, and pretty much my favorite. Now let's move into the full coverage concealers. And I have a lot of full coverage concealers because these are the ones that I typically use to cover my face, my hyperpigmentation on my face. And I usually put these underneath my foundation. So I am looking for specific criteria when I'm buying the full coverage. However, I have used them under my eyes also, and they do last all day. And so if you have a lot of discoloration, you might want to try these full coverage concealers to brighten that under eye area and have it last all day. The key is you need to have your skin well moisturized. You've got to use an eye cream or put your, I use a moisturizing primer underneath my eyes. I will just tap it in, let it set. Give it a chance to plump up those fine lines. So you want to let it set for a couple of minutes. Don't just apply it and then immediately start with your concealer, because again, like a sponge, you want to give it a chance to plump up the skin. And then you can use your full coverage concealer. This is what I'm wearing today. I am actually wearing the concealer more in the triangle. And I am using a lighter concealer, and then you just tap it in, press it in with a sponge. When you have a concealer that looks too light, you can press it in with your sponge, you can press it in with your fingers, and then sometimes I'll even just kind of go over the edges with my foundation brush using any remaining foundation to kind of blend it in. Again, you're not trying to wipe it off, so you just want to use a little bit, and these concealers have a lot of pigment in them. So when I was doing makeup for pageant photography, so we're looking stage makeup, lots of makeup, and you would put so much concealer that you were literally going back and forth. You're using a bigger brush. You're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth trying to get that concealer to blend in. That's not what we're doing here. You're going to put just that light amount of concealer, tap it in, blend it in. These are more full coverage. If you have really bad circles, you've already color corrected first. And then you are going to see if you need to set it. I find that these full coverage concealers that I'm going to mention don't necessarily need to be set. So sometimes I feel like that gets a little too drying. So you would just have to see how they work on your skin. But the full coverage concealers, like the ones that I'm wearing right now, my favorite right now is the Jouer Essential High Coverage Liquid Concealer. I have a hard time finding this. I had to buy mine on Amazon. Even I think on the Jouer website, they were sold out of the shade that I was trying to get. And then on Amazon, it's kind of hard. And I'm looking at the Jouer store, but one link might take you to just 3 colors and the next link will take you to 5 more colors. So I did find it harder to pick the right shades, but I did actually pick the right shades. So I got one to match my skin exactly, which I use for my face, and then I got just a little bit brighter for my skin. So the one that matches my face exactly is Rich Ginger, and the one that's a little bit brighter is Honey. And so that's what I'm wearing today. Also the L'Oreal Infallible. I think they've got some new packaging. I think it's red now, but it's a great one. e.l.f. Camo or Hydrating Camo Concealer. It's a longtime favorite. Oh, I found this in my concealer bin, and I forgot about this. This is the Hourglass Vanishing Concealer. Oh my gosh, this is a really great, beautiful, brightening concealer. So this one's at Sephora. the Maybelline Superstay Active, it's also a nice one. And then the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop is also another great full coverage concealer. And so after you have the concealer on, again, you want to just lightly set. Occasionally, if I feel like, oh, it's too bright, I brightened it a little too much, I will take a finishing powder that is tinted and apply that very, very lightly. I'm not even going to dip in. I'm just going to take a little bit. And let's say I can just tap it. And I work my way up. I'm not going to start on my lines first because I might not need to put it all the way underneath the eyes, you know? So I'm just going to work my way up until I get the blend that I'm looking for. How I brighten my under eyes, again, I think it's really important to use the right amount of pigment in the concealer, the right type of concealer for the level of coverage and brightening that you need. I do have another video on using how to get your concealer to last all day. I will put that here and in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.